Hey there folks, I'm making a quick video here because I think it's needed and frankly I want to share it. A few people have asked me my position on recent events and if I had an official statement on it. While I mentioned it briefly on my last Patreon post, I felt it was time to address that in a specific Patreon post specifically for this. So MagnusApollo Design is like an entertainment and education platform. It's really what I kind of aim for. But I can't lie that my personal beliefs and like the causes that I choose to assist is one of the major components of the clients and projects I've taken on here at MagnusApollo Design. It's been years, and I tell people that I choose what to work on, what matters to me, like from Lollipop Farm with animal protection, the Seneca Park Zoo with environmental work I've been working on, trying to help them reforest Madagascar and just making a change where I can there, to like the Rochester Urban League and the concerns of them with the community that I'm a part of here in Rochester. So that said, I don't really plan on discussing a lot of politics here on Patreon, just to let people know. And I don't have a plan on discussing the news really unless it's directly related to the topics I'm working on or if some component of it. Like for instance, like the Patreon post I had, the reason I mentioned the Black Lives Matter is because I was working with the crew there and Sean Dunwoody to paint the MLK Park. But believe it or not, over the years I've become kind of much more of a private person. And part of it is because I unfortunately had to contend with more than a few stalkers, which I've talked to a few people here on it. But in cases like our current climate, I share a belief that society as a whole doesn't particularly have any need to like hear the studio's unsolicited opinions on any other like any of the topics, like any other ones that like somehow related to the topics I'm working on. Like I really don't think the studio's unsolicited opinions on anything other than something related to topics myself and the henchmen cover in our various projects really kind of need to be heard right now. So after many years of being vocal on my social media feeds like Twitter and Instagram, I figure it's reasonably clear what my thoughts and beliefs are and like the values I kind of hold. I figure it's kind of translating okay. I also recognize that as my viewership and backers grow, there's a responsibility to make it clear where I stand out of respect for you, my backers, for society as a whole. With recent things happening, I've kind of unfortunately had to deal with some followers that didn't align with my beliefs. And because of it, there's been nearly 3,000 people that have left my Instagram following. Yeah, 3,000. I'll say that maybe 1 in 50, maybe like 1 in 50, sent me a message stating why they were leaving. Some were kind, some were simply saying they just don't want any politics. Like they have a new rule that if anyone mentions politics, there's unfollowed, which to each their own, that's fine. While a few others actually I would refer to somewhat more ignorant views, and some of them were very, very racist belief. I'm not quite sure where that kind of following came from, aside from me being painting in certain areas, regions that tend to be more of a certain mindset, and I may have picked up followers that way. It was kind of rough to deal with in the sense that I just getting kind of hate mail and anything is kind of rough to deal with. But I found it was a rather cathartic thing because I realize if they're kind of ignorant statements, I really don't have much care for them anyway. So I'd rather have a strong, healthy group following me than some of the folks that I saw writing me and messaging me. So there's always a responsibility to stand up no matter who you are and speak out against oppression, inequality. And the reason I haven't really said more up until now was out of respect for the Black Lives Matter movement. I posted a few things on my Instagram. I shared pictures of me painting with Sean Dunwoody to agree with to let the people know that I agree with what was happening and I want to get the voices out there. But I tend to post more about it on my Twitter. I've had some discussions there, MagnusApollo on Twitter. But I want to quote a podcast I've listened to for years. I just had a discussion with Rochester City businesses. I've been working with them on how to handle PR during this time. So they asked a big white guy to say what I've said and what I've been doing. So I figured if I've been teaching a class on it, I should definitely make a statement on it now. So if I want to quote a podcast I've listened to for years, so this comes from Scott and Forrest of Astonishing Legends. If you check it out, it's great for like cryptos and crazy cool stories and just legends. It's great. But I want to thank them for supplying this text for me as well. I'm quoting them directly. Maybe a little bit of tweaks and changes because I ramble on. But I want to thank them for sending this along. Scott, thank you. So to be categorically clear, I and my henchmen will always support peaceful protesting and the constitutional First Amendment right to assemble in solidarity and to be heard by our government. We wholly condemn the horrific acts of social injustice that most recently culminated in the death of George Floyd, and not only Floyd, but all those black and brown men, women, and children who've gone before him for the better part of the last several hundred years in this American society we find ourselves in. There are too many cases like Floyd's, and with more and more coming to light daily, there's no question that significant reform is due. Is long overdue, to be honest with you, for a system that hasn't gotten it right really since the get-go. And therefore, reform needs to come now. It's why I'm very honored to see the people in my feeds standing up and doing it. I'm always a friend here. We also feel here that specific moment in history that the discourse belongs more to the oppressed black and brown Americans than it does to a Patreon post about arts, factoids, and random other life events. But it's encouraging to see entertainment outlets, goods and service providers, and even figures in the art communities here voicing their support. I was honored to be part of a statement with a petition to the Rochester community here, Rochester City, with 1975 Gallery, ROCO, so many other art community members demanding change to be happen. And the reform needs to be done now. So I was honored, to be honest, I truly was honored to get a message from Sean Dunaway to be part of the team to paint MLK Park. I was one of the handful of white guys there, and it was nice to be amongst the women and kids, people of color that were there. I've always been a part of the community and working with kids, and I had a blast doing it. I was fun to watch them excitedly paint away on it. But I was just so happy to see the new canvas that I did at the MLK used for the voices of the hopes and the fears and the dreams of here the Rochester community. Photos from Quay J. Donnelly. I tag him on a bunch of stuff. He took a bunch of pictures of the protest, and it was awesome to see the canvas I helped just make for people to put their posts on there. I'm happy to see the new canvas used for the voice of the hopes and fears and dreams of the community I'm proud to be part of here in Rochester, to put it bluntly. While it's crucial we do our part, it's the people that are suffering injustices whose voices should be heard first and foremost. The microphones, the megaphones, the spotlight should be handed to them, especially at this crucial time when the momentum is the greatest. It's their messages that should cut through the noise so it can be reached those that need to hear it. So that's the dialogue that matters the most, and it should take place on the most effective channels. I'm personally optimistic and excited about the overdue positive change that I see happening, and I hope that we'll continue to press on and the true change will eventually be happening here. It's time for that to happen, and I am happy to be a supporter and a person that's standing behind all these amazing people with getting their voices out. So you wish to discuss the matter, you feel free to direct message me or join the conversation on Twitter, MagnusApollo on Twitter. I really wanted to get this word out now, what's happening. And I wanted to finally make a Patreon post here. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being a backer. Thank you for all the work that I see a lot of my followers here and friends doing to make social justice happening. So I just want to get this Patreon post out. So thank you for listening. Thanks for the support. And I'll now return us to normally goofy, weirdo projects I'm working on. Thanks.